My friends, one of the greatest thieves of happiness is comparison. Every day, we are tempted to look left and right at what others are doing, achieving, or owning. Social media makes it worse. With one scroll, you see someone traveling to exotic places, another buying a new car, another showing a perfect relationship, and suddenly your own life feels small, ordinary, or even meaningless. But listen carefully. Comparison is a lie. What you see in others is only the surface, never the full story. Napoleon Hill once said, "The man who does more than he is paid for will soon be paid for more than he does." This means that growth, success, and fulfillment come when you focus inward, on your own path, your own work, and your own purpose. The danger of comparing yourself is that it blinds you from your own blessings. You stop noticing your progress, your unique gifts, and your inner strength. You become so obsessed with their light that you forget your own candle is burning. Think about it. A sunflower never looks at a rose and feels insecure. The ocean never looks at the sky and feels small. Each thing is complete in itself, and so are you. When you compare, you plant seeds of jealousy, doubt, and insecurity. But when you focus on your own journey, you plant seeds of confidence, gratitude, and growth. Remember, success is not about being better than someone else. It is about being better than who you were yesterday. That is the only comparison that matters. So, if you want peace, power, and progress, stop comparing and start creating. Stop competing with others and start completing yourself. Because at the end of the day, the only person you are truly racing against is the person in the mirror. When you constantly compare your life with others, you begin to lose sight of your own blessings. Gratitude is like oxygen for the soul. Without it, happiness slowly suffocates. But comparison is like a thief. It sneaks in silently and steals your ability to appreciate the life you already have. Think about it. The moment you scroll through social media and see someone with a bigger house, a flashier car, or a seemingly perfect relationship, your heart shifts. Suddenly, your own home feels too small, your own car feels too old, your own relationship feels too ordinary. But has anything truly changed? No. The only thing that changed is your perspective. Napoleon Hill taught that our thoughts shape our reality. If your mind is full of comparisons, then your reality will always feel incomplete. But if your mind is full of gratitude, then your reality will always feel abundant. Gratitude magnifies what you already have, while comparison minimizes it. Let's make it practical. Imagine two people waking up in the morning. One looks at their small room and thinks, "Why is my life so limited? Others have so much more than me." The other wakes up in the same kind of room and thinks, "I am thankful for this roof over my head, for the bed I sleep in, and for the chance to see another day." Same room, different mind. One person starts their day in lack, the other starts it in abundance. That is the power of gratitude versus comparison. And here's the interesting part. When you practice gratitude, you actually attract more. Life has a way of rewarding those who are thankful. But when you live in comparison, you block the flow of blessings, because your focus is not on what you can build, but on what you think you are missing. Remember this: you cannot see the beauty of your own garden if your eyes are always on your neighbor's flowers. Maybe their roses are blooming today, but your sunflowers will rise tomorrow. Every garden has its season and every heart has its blessings, if only you pause to notice them. In today's world, we live surrounded by illusions. Social media success stories, highlight reels, they show us polished surfaces, not raw realities. What you see is never the full truth, yet we often believe it. We look at someone's smiling pictures, their perfect vacations, their shining trophies, and we assume their life is flawless. But the truth, every person you admire is carrying a burden you don't see. It's like watching a stage play. The actors look flawless under the spotlight, dressed perfectly, performing beautifully. But behind the curtain, there might be exhaustion, broken shoes, arguments, even tears. Life works the same way. The spotlight reveals the performance, but it never reveals the backstage struggle. Napoleon Hill often reminded us that success is not a straight line. Behind every winner you see, there were silent failures, sleepless nights, self-doubts, and moments of wanting to quit. The problem is, we only see their chapter 20 and compare it to our chapter 2. No wonder we feel small. But what we forget is, their story had rough beginnings too. Here's an interesting thought. Have you ever met someone you envied from far away, only to discover later that their reality was nothing like what you imagined? Maybe the person with a luxurious car is drowning in debt. Maybe the one with thousands of followers feels lonely every night. Maybe the one with the perfect smile cries when no one is watching. What you see is a fraction, not the full picture. Life is like the moon. You only see the bright side. The dark side, the scars, the craters, remain hidden. But they exist. Just because you can't see them doesn't mean they're not real. And here is the lesson. When you compare your life to others based only on what you see, you are comparing your behind, the scenes, to their highlights. That's unfair to yourself. You know your struggles, your pain, your scars, but you don't see theirs. So you're measuring your raw reality against their edited version. Of course, you will always feel like you're falling short. The wiser choice: stop assuming that what shines on the outside equals peace on the inside. Some people are rich in possessions but bankrupt in spirit. Others are poor in appearance but wealthy in joy. Remember, every person you envy has a hidden struggle, just like every person you pity might have a hidden strength. So never trust appearances. Trust your own journey. Because that's the only truth you fully know. One of the greatest mistakes people make is thinking life is a race where everyone must reach the finish line at the same time. But the truth is, your path is uniquely designed for you. Your timeline, your struggles, your victories, even your failures, all of it is part of a blueprint that belongs only to you. Look at nature. The sun rises at one time and the moon rises at another. The sunflower blooms in summer, but the pine tree stands tall all year long. The eagle flies high in the sky while the lion rules the land. None of them are competing, yet all of them are fulfilling their purpose. You never see the ocean trying to become the sky, or the sky trying to become the mountain. Each thing is powerful in its own lane. The same is true for you. The danger comes when you start comparing your timing to someone else's. Maybe your friend got married before you. Maybe your colleague got promoted before you. Maybe someone you know achieved success faster than you. And in that moment you feel behind. But behind what? There is no universal clock that everyone must follow. The pressure exists only in your mind. Napoleon Hill often emphasized that success requires patience, persistence, and faith in your own process. Some people harvest quickly, but their fruits rot just as fast. Others take longer to grow. But when their tree blossoms, it provides shade for generations. Do not rush your life just because someone else's seed sprouted earlier. Your season will come, and when it does, it will make sense why it took the time it did. Here's something interesting to think about. Imagine two runners on different tracks. One track is smooth, the other has hills, stones, and curves. The runner on the smooth track may reach the finish line faster, but the runner on the difficult track develops more endurance, more strength, more character. So when life gives you delays and struggles, it's not punishing you, it's preparing you. Remember this: your uniqueness is your power. If you were meant to live someone else's story, you would have been born in their shoes, but you weren't. You were born with your own fingerprints, your own heartbeat, your own soul. That is proof that your journey is not meant to be a copy, but an original. So, the next time you feel like you're late in life, remind yourself, flowers don't bloom all at once. Some open in spring, some in summer, some in autumn. But when they bloom, each one is beautiful in its own season, and so are you. Pressure in life is natural. Pressure makes us grow, just like pressure turns coal into diamonds. But the problem begins when the pressure doesn't come from your own goals, but from comparing yourself to others. That kind of pressure is not healthy, it's toxic. Think about it. When you see someone else achieving something, you immediately feel like you must catch up, even if that achievement has nothing to do with your dreams. A person buys a new car, suddenly you feel your car is not enough. A classmate lands a corporate job, suddenly you feel your small business is worthless. Someone else is in a relationship, and suddenly your single life feels like loneliness. This is not real desire, it is borrowed desire, created by comparison. Napoleon Hill once said that desire backed by faith is the beginning of all achievement. But here's the catch: that desire must come from your own soul. If your desires are born from comparison, they will feel like chains instead of wings. You'll be running faster and faster, not because you want to, but because you're afraid of being behind. That is pressure without passion, effort without meaning. Let's paint a picture. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack. Inside are not your own goals, but other people's expectations, society's timelines, family's comparisons. You walk slower, you feel tired, and you don't even know why you're carrying it. That is what comparison does. It adds unnecessary weight to your journey. Here's an interesting twist: sometimes the pressure of comparison makes people climb ladders faster than ever, only to realize the ladder was leaning against the wrong wall. They sacrificed peace, health, even relationships just to match someone else's pace. And when they finally reached the top, they asked themselves, was it even worth it? Pressure from within, your own standards, your own goals, can shape you. But pressure from outside, what others are doing, can break you. It pushes you into living a life that doesn't belong to you. Think of a musician. If they play the guitar because they love it, every note feels alive. But if they play just to outshine another musician, the music loses its soul. The same applies to your life. When you live from comparison, your actions lose their meaning. So the question is, are you moving forward because your heart is guiding you, or because comparison is pushing you? That distinction decides whether your journey will be peaceful or pressured. The human mind is like a garden. When it's free, when it's nurtured, it produces beautiful flowers of ideas, visions, and solutions. But when envy enters the soil, it's like planting weeds that choke the flowers before they bloom. Creativity cannot breathe in an environment poisoned by jealousy. When you look at someone else's success with envy, you are not just admiring them. You are unconsciously telling yourself, they are ahead, I am behind, they are worthy, I am lacking. That energy suffocates the creative spirit inside you. Instead of thinking, what can I build? What can I create? Your mind is stuck on, how can I catch up to them? How can I outshine them? And in that state, your originality dies. Napoleon Hill emphasized imagination as one of the cornerstones of success. But imagination only works when the mind is free from bitterness. A jealous heart cannot innovate because it is too busy watching others. Envy makes you a copycat instead of a creator. Let me share a picture with you. Imagine two painters. One enters the studio inspired, looking at a blank canvas, excited to paint from his heart. The other enters the studio, but instead of painting, he spends his time looking over the shoulder of the first painter, trying to copy every stroke. At the end, the first painter creates art. The second, only an imitation. That is what envy does to life. It kills originality and replaces it with competition. Here's something interesting. Sometimes the very people you envy are not even as happy as you think. They may look successful, but deep inside, they could be lost, pressured, or unfulfilled. And yet, you are blocking your own blessings by envying what you don't even know the truth about. Creativity comes when your mind is light, when you are curious, when you dare to explore your own possibilities. But envy puts a chain on your curiosity. It whispers, don't try your way, just do what they are doing. And so, you lose the magic of being you. Remember, the world doesn't need another copy of someone else. It needs your voice, your vision, your unique way of seeing things. But if you let envy dominate your thoughts, your gift will remain buried, and the world will never get to see the masterpiece only you could have created. So the next time envy tries to rise in your heart, flip the script. Instead of saying, why them and not me, say, if it is possible for them, then it is possible for me too, just in my own way, in my own time. That is how you turn jealousy into inspiration, and inspiration into creation. So often in life, we are told to compete, to outshine others, to be faster, richer, stronger, smarter than the people around us. But here is the truth that most people forget: your real competition is not the person sitting next to you. It is the person staring back at you in the mirror. When you measure yourself against others, you're playing a game you can never win. Why? Because there will always be someone with more money, more beauty, more success, more recognition. If your happiness depends on outrunning them, you'll spend your whole life exhausted and never satisfied. But if you compete only with yourself, you enter a race you can always win. Napoleon Hill spoke about the power of self-mastery, the ability to control your own thoughts, actions, and growth. Imagine this: if every day you become just a little stronger, a little wiser, a little more disciplined than you were yesterday, then over time, you become unstoppable. Small victories against your past self add up to giant leaps. Think of athletes. The greatest ones don't just study their rivals, they study themselves. They watch their own replays, analyze their own mistakes, and push their own limits. They know that the only way to break records is not by copying others, but by outgrowing their own weaknesses. Life works the same way. Here's something interesting: when you focus on competing with yourself, life actually becomes lighter. You stop feeling bitter when others succeed, because you realize their journey is not your yardstick. Instead, you start asking yourself better questions. Am I wiser than I was last year? Am I stronger than I was last month? Am I more disciplined than I was yesterday? These are the questions that build growth. Let's imagine this with a story. Two climbers are on a mountain. One keeps looking at the other climber, comparing every step, trying to match pace, and in the process, he loses balance, slips, and tires himself out. The other climber keeps his eyes on his own path, one step at a time, steadily going upward. By the end of the climb, it is not the one who looked around, but the one who looked within, who reached the peak. Remember, when you focus on others, you may run fast but in the wrong direction. When you focus on yourself, you may go slower. But every step will be progress, every step will be yours. That is the only race worth running. The race against your own limits, your own doubts, your own yesterday. One of the greatest traps of comparison is that it turns you into a spectator instead of a creator. You spend your energy watching others build their dreams while your own dreams collect dust. Every moment spent scrolling, envying, or checking on someone else's progress is a moment stolen from your own growth. Think about it. A farmer who keeps staring at his neighbor's crops will never water his own field. By the time he realizes, his land has gone dry, while his neighbor's is flourishing. Not because the neighbor was luckier, but because the neighbor was focused on building, not watching. Napoleon Hill taught that energy flows where attention goes. If all your attention is on others, their journey becomes stronger while yours becomes weaker. But when you bring your attention back to your own goals, your health, your work, your character, your life begins to expand. Here's something interesting. People often watch others not out of admiration, but out of distraction. Watching others succeed gives them a temporary escape from their own responsibilities. But distraction is expensive. Every hour wasted watching someone else's progress is an hour you could have invested in writing your own success story. Imagine life as a construction site. Some people are busy laying bricks every day, building walls, shaping their future. Others are standing outside the fence, gossiping, pointing, and comparing. Years later, the builders will have a strong house, while the watchers will still be standing with empty hands, wondering where the time went. The truth is, building is harder than watching. Watching is easy. It costs nothing but gives you nothing. Building requires effort, patience, and consistency. But here's the magic when you start building. Even small steps create momentum. You may not see results instantly, but with time, your effort compounds into something extraordinary. And here's a perspective shift. Instead of using other people's success as a source of envy, use it as a reminder. If they can build, so can you. If they can grow, so can you. Their story is not a reason to feel small. It's proof that progress is possible. But only if you stop watching and start working. My friends, life is too short to waste it looking sideways. The truth is simple: comparison is a silent killer. It kills your joy, your gratitude, your creativity, and your peace. It blinds you from your blessings and convinces you that you are behind, when in reality, you are exactly where you need to be. You see, every person you compare yourself with is fighting a battle you cannot see. Every life you envy carries scars you don't know about, and every path you admire was carved with struggles you never witnessed. So why punish yourself by competing in a race that was never yours? Instead, turn your eyes inward. Compete with yourself. Nourish your own garden. Water your own seeds. Build your own path. If you must compare, then compare the person you are today with the person you were yesterday. If you must compete, then compete with the doubts, the fears, and the laziness within you. That is the only competition that matters. Napoleon Hill believed that thoughts are things, and whatever dominates your thoughts shapes your destiny. If your mind is filled with comparison, your destiny will always feel insufficient. But if your mind is filled with gratitude, focus, and vision, your destiny will shine brighter than you ever imagined. Remember this: the sky never apologizes for being different from the ocean. The mountain never envies the river. The sun does not compete with the stars. It shines in its time, and the stars shine in theirs. Life is not about being better than someone else. It is about being true to who you are. So stop watching others live and start building the life that belongs to you. Stop chasing timelines that aren't yours and start walking at the pace your soul requires. Because at the end of the day, when all is said and done, it will not matter who had more, who ran faster, or who seemed ahead. What will matter is whether you lived your journey fully, authentically, and fearlessly. And when you finally look back, may you not say, "I wasted my life comparing." Instead, may you say, "I built my life, step by step, with courage, gratitude, and faith." That is true success. That is real freedom.